Jack London built his most famous novel around a deeply uncomfortable idea. The civilized behavior of any creature is entirely an illusion, easily erased by a harsh enough environment. He chose the Klondike Gold Rush as his laboratory to test this theory. In the late 1890s, tens of thousands of prospectors hurled themselves into the punishing, frozen expanses of the Canadian Northwest. Human muscle alone couldn't drag heavy sleds across these massive glaciers and snowdrifts. Survival required a biological engine built for the ice, making sled dogs the most vital resource in the territory. Into this frozen crucible, London drops his protagonist, Buck. We meet him not as a wild animal, but as a wealthy aristocrat ruling over a sunny California estate, defined completely by human comforts and human expectations. In this southern world, a dog thrives by tamping down its natural instincts. You obey arbitrary moral codes, you don't bite the postman, and you receive a warm fire and a full bowl of food in return. That comfortable existence collapses when Buck is kidnapped, beaten with a club, and sold off to work in the frozen Yukon. Early editions of the book map this transition directly in the table of contents. The story leaves the soft laws of the South behind and enters the law of club and fang. Out here, clinging to human morality is a guaranteed death sentence. Buck learns this the moment he steps off the boat. He watches helplessly as a friendly dog named Curly is knocked down and immediately torn to pieces by a pack of huskies, while the human drivers simply crack their whips to clear the chaos. He realizes there is no referee in the snow. To stay alive, he has to actively dismantle the moral conditioning that kept him safe back in California. The concept of fair play disappears first. You strike first, you strike hard, and you accept brutal pragmatism as the only universal language. Forced into the harness, Buck discovers an internal rhythm to the grueling work. He develops what London calls the pride of the trace, an infectious ambition to pull the sled and dominate the pack. This ambition puts him on a collision course with Spitz, the current lead dog. Buck refuses to fight him right away, biding his time with a cold, primitive cunning to slowly undermine Spitz's authority. The breaking point happens during a chaotic moonlit chase. As Spitz catches a fleeing rabbit and breaks its back in midair, the thrill of the kill triggers a cold, predatory calculation in Buck. He attacks, overthrows Spitz, and claims leadership. Buck successfully sheds his softer self right as he is sold to 3 new owners from the States, Hal, Charles, and Mercedes. These humans pack heavy tents, bicker over manners, and refuse to adjust to the ice. Because they try to force parlor room logic onto a frozen wilderness, they doom themselves and their dogs to starvation and a watery grave. In the Southland, their refusal to adapt wouldn't have been fatal, but the Klondike functions as a brutal filter. It actively strips away everything except absolute primal adaptability and ruthless cunning. Just before those incompetent owners plunge through the thinning ice, a man named John Thornton pulls Buck from the traces. Thornton saves his life, becoming Buck's final, incredibly strong tether to human affection. Yet a strange paradox takes hold. Even as Buck develops a fierce, burning love for Thornton, his mind drifts further away from the modern world. London writes these moments with a touch of magical realism. When Buck stares into the campfire, the darkness past the flames fills with glowing coals, the eyes of ancient predatory beasts circling in the night. He begins to dream of a short, hairy man squatting by the flames, constantly peering into the dark with a weapon in his hands. Buck is directly recalling the early days of human prehistory. London calls this a tidal wave of being. The text shows these are genetic memories of wolf ancestors pushing into his consciousness. These ancestral shades don't just haunt him, they dictate his moods, taste his meat, and instruct him on the wild. He isn't losing his mind or reverting to a mindless brute. He is simply reclaiming his species' deepest survival instincts. A physical compulsion soon begins pulling him into the woods. He hears a distinct, mysterious call echoing through the trees, demanding he leave the campfire behind. He finally tracks that sound down to his wood brother, a lone timber wolf. Running shoulder to shoulder with this wild creature completes Buck's transition from a beast of burden into a fully independent hunter. But his remaining tether to humanity is severed violently. He returns from a hunt to find John Thornton and his partners slaughtered by a raiding party of Yeehat tribesmen. The text notes that a terrible ferocity sweeps over him. Every last thread of civilized restraint he ever held snaps instantly. He launches himself at the armed men, tearing throats and scattering the hunting party. For the first time in his life, he lets raw passion completely override his calculating reason. Standing over the aftermath, Buck realizes that without their clubs, arrows, and guns, humans are incredibly soft, fragile creatures. The fear of man vanishes entirely. Being tame is a temporary state, maintained strictly by comfort and arbitrary rules. Strip those comforts away, drop a creature into an unforgiving world, and the primordial beast will always wake up to answer the call of the wild.